and good afternoon to everybody. My name is Kishore and I'm the event manager at Agnostic and would be your today's host. Thank you everyone for joining in today's live webinar using Slack as a business tool. Today's presenter is Teddy Perez. I will quickly introduce Teddy. Teddy is a LinkedIn coach, trainer, consultant, public speaker, and author. Teddy's focus is leading teams of employees to adopt the best practices of using social media as a business tool in order for them to better achieve their business development goals. Now, before I hand it over to Teddy, I should inform you that the session will be of 60 minutes. Also, we have given the extension at the end of the webinar. You can keep sending your questions to the chat window, and Teddy will answer those questions at the end. We will begin now. Teddy, I would request you to please start the presentation.
Thank you, Kishore. Appreciate it. So, welcome everybody. This presentation is a high-level view and some insights into using Slack, S-L-A-C-K, as a business tool. It's a tool that I absolutely love using, and I use it with lots of different people for lots of different reasons. And as I started discovering the real value of Slack, I decided it made sense for me to teach others how to get real value out of using Slack as a business tool. And the Slack is a really cool tool. It's a fun tool. It's a very engaging tool when it's used right. And what's really one of the really neat things I discovered about Slack is that the definition of Slack is cloud-based, which pretty much every new tool we discover today is cloud-based. I don't know there's been a new tool that I've adopted that isn't cloud-based. It's a very collaborative, with lots of features built into it. They're very purposeful and intentional in nature. But what I really discovered about Slack that was the most intriguing is what's the definition of Slack, S-L-A-C-K. And when Stuart Butterfield was putting it together for his first business called Tiny Speck, he decided that he needed something that would allow for searchable log of all conversations and knowledge. Slack, searchable log of all conversations and knowledge. And it really fits because it's really what it's all about, and it works. And I'm involved in some Slack communities or workspace. Those terms are interchangeable. In businesses as well as nonprofit organizations, associations. My family even has a Slack community. And one of my daughters is involved in a business where some teams or departments in their organizations also have their own Slack, either community or workspace. So not only can it be for businesses, but it can be driven down and separate the departments or what we call subgroups of a bigger group into their own workspace. So the Slack website is really laid out pretty well. It's easy to read, it's clean, it's got a lot of white space. And so I like their definitions of Slack. It's where you unify an entire team and their communications, and you can get their workflows to work better, their conversations around those workflows to work better. And there's lots of apps that integrate into Slack, so that you can make those workflows even more automated. And beyond even that, the power behind Slack's search engine to find all of the files, the phone calls, the messages, and the people who are in that space, whether it's that workspace slash community or even that channel, which we'll talk about as well. So, and it's a place for every conversation. And so if your team is in conversations about lots of different activities or lots of different products or programs or tasks, you can drive those conversations down into channels, which are even more focused discussions. regarding and wrapped around all that, either that project or that team or whatever that channel is about. And so you can have channels within, and I'll show this to you, within Workspace about, down to as finite of an area of the business as you want to, as long as there's a conversation going on around that finite piece. And when you want to stop bouncing back and forth with messaging, what's really cool is you can hop on a video call or a voice call, all right within Slack. So again, apps are a growing business tool, or a growing way to add features and functionality to our business tools, and Slack as well as integrating lots of different apps into their system, so that you can, not only use the word pipe, bring in or pull in performance data, pull in support tickets, pull in budgetary approvals, reviews, sales leads, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's lots of different apps, and Slack is adding more app functionality all the time. And they're not apps that Slack is creating. It's really just integrating with other apps that are out there today that are business focused, communications focused, community focused. I like the power of Slack search, a very powerful search tool, search engine built into Slack. And so you can search everything, because almost everything is indexed. And so not only can you search the messages in public channels and private channels, if you're a part of that private channel, but you can also search files and uploads and images and conversations, et cetera, et cetera. And so once all this content is being collated or collected in Slack because of these collaborative conversations, then it becomes easier to find this information. And again, the more you use Slack, the more information gets collected, the more conversations get collected, the smarter Slack becomes, making it easier for you to do the work that you do. So it's really, Slack is a great alternative to email, a great alternative to chat, a great alternative to social media conversations within a team. And you bring all of these conversations, again, related to the finite area of your business, or to multiple finite areas of your business. Bring all those conversations into one place, then it becomes a really much more powerful tool. And there are thousands of companies worldwide that are using Slack. SurveyMonkey is just one of them. And I like the quote that Brent wrote. Someone that new that joins our company can go back and look at the previous conversations within the community or within the channels, and quickly get up to date with what's going on based on those conversations that are collected in Slack. Slack is a free tool. You can get started in a very powerful way with Slack's free tool. If you want to, if you really start getting value out of Slack, then you're going to probably end up paying for it. It's not any more expensive than some of the other collaborative tools that are out there. The real delimiter, here's the real delimiter of when you need to pay, versus not have to pay, is that when you get to the point where you have 10,000 messages. Now that seems like a lot for a small business. It seems like a small amount for a large business. But if you start using it free and you discover the value, you start bringing in more people, you need to pay attention to, am I getting close to that 10,000 number of messages? And are the messages that start adding up in the past important? Often they are, not always, but often they are, depending upon the dynamics of the organization and the workspace or the community. And at some point, you're going to need to start paying for Slack. And again, if you start testing it and beta testing and practicing with it, you're going to find out that it's going to be well worth the cost. The other thing I really like about Slack is it's what I call device agnostic. I use it on my MacBook. That's what I'm using right now. I've got a MacBook Pro at home. I use it on that. My wife has a Windows PC, and so do a few of my other daughters in my family and business partners. So they use it on their Windows PC as an app on their PC, not just in the web browser, but as an app. I use it on my iPhone all the time. The functionality of the iPhone is a little bit different than it is on the app on the Windows or on the MacBook, but not so different that I can't quickly figure out where I am and what I'm doing. Android has an app as well as the Windows phone. You can run it on my iPad. You can also run it in my Chrome or my Firefox browser, which I do every now and then as well. And I also, and there's a Slack that just popped up right there. And but now what I haven't done is tested on the Windows Edge browser. I mostly tell people who have a Windows device that they really want to use Chrome or Firefox, but I have not tested it on the Windows Edge browser, and it's not listed as non-compliant. So there's lots of components wrapped around Slack. There's lots of areas of Slack. It is very intuitive once you start experimenting with it. But I want to just speak about some of these components because there's some areas of using Slack that people miss out on, and that minimizes the power of Slack. So I want to talk about these things. First of all, when you go create your first community or workspace, it's called workspace. And, you know, the workspace has a very standard nomenclature. It's the name of your workspace.slack.com. It's really pretty easy to name it. You got to be careful of naming your workspace something that, you know, is brand centric, because I guess that's what you want to do, and you definitely don't want to, you know, violate some, you know, copyright infringement. And Slack generally tries to make sure you don't do that. But workspace is the hub of where it all starts. Everything is in a workspace, and you as an individual can be in multiple workspaces using the same Slack app or the same Slack interface. Dig a little deeper, and you get into what's called channels. And channels are unique conversations or specific conversations around an item, a product, a service, a conversation, an idea. So I'm a big LinkedIn coach and trainer. So in one of my workspaces, some of the channels are, you know, about profiles, LinkedIn profiles, or about LinkedIn company pages is another channel. LinkedIn groups is another channel. LinkedIn bugs is a channel. LinkedIn changes is a channel. So, you know, you can have lots of different channels within a workspace, all relevant and related to the workspace in general. So then once you're in a channel, you get into discussions, and discussions is basically a new post of text, image, whatever, to a discussion. Excuse me, a discussion is a new post to a channel. And so someone can start a new conversation in a channel, and that would be, in essence, a discussion. And again, you can have lots of different discussions going on within a channel, within a workspace. Now, here's where people miss out on often, which really makes channels and discussions more powerful, and that is, instead of, you know, just making another comment in the discussion into the channel, which in essence is considered a new discussion, the real way to get value out of discussions and channels is to start a thread to a discussion. And what that does is pulls all the replies off to the side. You can see the discussion has a bunch of replies to it. But if you reply to a discussion by starting a thread or jumping into a thread, it really keeps the conversation clean and organized and gives the greatest value to workspace channels and discussions by starting a thread to a discussion. And then outside of that, we also have the ability to go do one-on-one or even group to one or group messages. So you can take a group of people, a group of members of the workspace or members of the channel, because you don't have to be members of all the channels, but you can start a message or a conversation just with a specific group of people within messaging as well. So you got, I got one today, so I'm working on a Slack conversation, in a discussion in a channel, and one of my peers in that workspace sent me a Slack message to ask me a totally irrelevant question, irrelevant to everybody else, but relevant to him and I. So that conversation didn't need to be public in a thread or public in a discussion or in a channel. He kept it quasi-private as a message directly to me within the Slack community. So workspace, channels, discussions, threads, those are all lined up and integrated, and messages are a spin-off within the workspace, sort of more private messaging within Slack. You also have the ability to do search, so you have the search, search bar, or search results within Slack, very powerful tool. And you also have files, and you can embed files in a discussion, embed files in a thread, but files can also be collected as a function of dropping a file in a thread or in a discussion within a channel, but they can also be listed and grouped together as a group of files. I really love the ability that I'm, in a Slack conversation in a channel, we're bouncing back and forth 3 or 4 times, and I don't hear what he's saying, he doesn't hear what I'm saying. Stop with the chat, stop with the chatter, and get on the phone. And so instead of going look at my cell phone or my Google Voice phone, just right there, I can click on call somebody, and we can get into a live conversation within Slack. Yes, we have emoticons, so we can give people the emotion of what we're saying and seeing and hearing and replying on. And equally as important, we have the ability to mention. So when we're in a thread conversation or discussion, we can mention the other people that are in the channel, the other people that are in the workspace, and so we can pull people into the conversations by mentioning them. And the last big component today of Slack is notifications. And so I have notifications turned on my desktop, turned on my mobile, because Slack is such an important communications tool to me. I don't want to miss out on the conversation that's going on. Doesn't mean I have to always respond to it immediately, but at the very least I can see what's going on and decide whether or not I want to jump into this conversation now or do it later. So notifications are really useful, and there's lots of different variability. What's important is to use notifications in a business sense. So I'm going to do some high-level screenshots for you just to show you a little bit about what I see when I use Slack. Most of these screenshots are done from the Mac app. Not all of them are. I'll let you know where I see one that's not. But, so here's first one. Here's a workspace. I'm in this workspace called LinkedIn Specialist. There's a group of us who are very deliberate about our practices, our philosophies, the people we work with. And so I've joined this group called LinkedIn Specialist.slack.com. You can see that we're about 7,200 messages going on right now. So we are very engaged. This group's probably been in place for about 6 months now. That's a very private group. Nobody gets in unless they're invited in, because we get in very business conversations about our businesses, as well as we share some real high-level tips and tricks that we want people to pay us for. So there's analytics that are built in, so we can see, analyze it. We customize a little bit more, add more privacy and communications to it. And you'll see that from this screen, I can easily switch over, sign into another workspace. I never sign out. I just jump back and forth between the different workspaces I have going on. Then again, within workspace, we have channels. Here's just a sampling of some of the channels that are involved in this workspace that I'm in. We have a third-party tools, that my buddy Joe Saunders created. We have a chat bot, where it's really the chat conversations between ideas about the LinkedIn chat bot that we were playing with. There's a connection management, content marketing, and there's probably about 20 other channels in this workspace called LinkedIn Specialist. And what we really try to do is keep their conversations relevant to the channel that we're in at the time we're chatting. Or if we want to start a new conversation, make sure we go to the right channel to start that conversation. So then, again, within a channel, there's a discussion. Marcus Oswell is a buddy of mine who's in this in this workspace, and he started a conversation or discussion about a LinkedIn Lite app that's being rolled out in some other countries. Unfortunately, not in the U.S. yet, but he started this conversation about it. And if you look down here, you'll see that he put the URL, and here's where the URL got resolved. The image got pulled in, but you'll also notice that one person did a thumbs up, and then one person did a reply. You say reply moves over into the thread. So here's her reply. Petra Fisher, another buddy of mine, replied to that discussion, and so the conversation moved over into the thread. And if I was to comment, the comment would be in a thread as well. And so, and again, there's the thumbs up. So again, it's workspace, channel, discussion, thread. If you understand it at that perspective, you'll discover and get the greatest value out of using Slack. And then off to the side, here's Mr. LinkedIn, a buddy of mine. His name is Mark Williams, and he's in the UK. And he and I engage often through Slack. And sometimes I got to pay attention to what time of day it is, and and we turn on our do not disturb when we're going to bed, et cetera, so we know we're not available because we are global. But you can just see here's a conversation that Mark and I had, that started back in 2016, and again, these conversations are quasi-private. I'm sharing it with you because it's not that private. Some of the other conversations I don't need to show you. Again, just to show you within a workspace, you can have a conversation with individuals that conversations or those conversations become quasi-private. So, and then here's the search window. So I could type in the word blog. I come up with 53 messages that have the word blog in it. And so there's the conversations that are going on. There's discussions. There's also 3 files that came up in the search results. I could have been a little bit more deliberate with my search word. I just wanted to get a quick word to give you a sampling of how the search works. It is quick. It is very quick. I am very impressed with the speed of the search engine as well as the speed of Slack altogether. So anyway, it's just a visual of doing a quick search. I could have done any kind of search for any kind of phrase, word, or whatever I was looking for. So then, as I said earlier, you can have files. And so here's I just basically went to, your files or all files. I went to all files in this case. And so here's a bunch of files. Files could be images, PDFs, Word docs. It could be anything. So anything attached. And so, you put those files into the workspace, and then you can access those files from anywhere within that workspace. And so, really a powerful way to share content. And we do a lot of Dropbox links as well, and Google Docs links as well. But you can also drop, the actual files that you want to drop for people in the workspace. And again, if the file is relevant to the conversation going on and useful to your other members of the team, then it's a great way to share content. So again, I referenced earlier, I can make a phone call. So here I could call, LinkedIn Steve, a gentleman named Steve Phillips. And he and I started chatting this past June 13th. but I could just click on call and call him up in either an audio visual file or a video file, phone call. Great tool for us to engage. And again, my rule is if we bounce back and forth 3 or 4 times on the same topic and we're on there, we might as well just jump on the phone call. Not everybody wants to be on a phone call. I do remember calling one of my lady friends. She hadn't done her hair yet, and she wasn't ready, so she didn't answer the phone. So I get the message back through Slack. So I got to be polite when I'm engaging people through phone internationally. So, there's the notifications area is the other thing that's, important to pay attention to. What do you want to get notified for? All the messages, only direct messages and mentions. You want to get notified for nothing. Notify me when threads I'm following, or, use the different settings from my mobile device. Always tag me with specific keywords. It's not overly expansive, the notifications, but it's at least worth paying attention to, so that you get the notifications that are important to you as you're using Slack as a business tool. Let me stop for a minute and make sure I don't have any chat going on. I don't, so I'm good. Let me go back to unmute myself. Let me go back again. So the emoticons are all the basic emoticons, but something interesting came up, and we're not sure why. But I have my own emoticon. I have no idea where it came from. It is only in Slack. Everybody who's in the community, this community, LinkedIn Specialist, has access to that emoticon. Nobody's used it inappropriately yet, but I've had a few people use it to say, hey, we should touch base with Teddy on it. But I have my own emoticon. But emoticons are, at first I thought they were, too cavalier, too friendly, but the reality is we all use them now. When we use them in the right way, they're very beneficial. And so, a smiley face means thank you, I agree with you, I did that, I love what you're saying, I saw that. They're very useful. Again, we use them with intention. There's an easy way to pull up all the people that are in your community, in your workspace, or in that channel. And so, I just showed a quick little list. I can see that Mark's on, Teddy's on. The rest of these folks are not on right now. The fact that they don't have a green, they're not logged in. I can still engage with them, but they may not get back to me fast enough. So, and you have a little message on your handles when you set that up. So how do you get started? How do you get started using Slack? It's really pretty easy. Go to slack.com, create a community. Maybe you get in, you can send invites to other people. So once you create your own workspace or your own community, and then you can send invites to other people, or maybe you get invited. So I've been invited to 2, I've created 2, and invited a bunch of people to join me on the other 2 that I'm in. So, but really it's that easy. Go to slack.com and create it. Again, once you have a Slack handle, whatever your community is, .slack.com, it's live. It's that easy to get started. And again, it's free until you decide that you need to go back and search past 10,000 messages. And at that point, you're going to need to pay for it. So it's really that easy to get started. Start on a web browser. Once you have it created, then you can. What I also encourage you to do is use the same email address for all of your Slack communities. You might want to mix up the password. You don't have to, but you might want to mix up the password. But use the same email address for all the communities. It makes it easy for you to get in and get out of Slack, no matter what community your workspace you're in. That's easy. Slack.com, give it a URL, hit continue to enter a workspace, or if you want to create a new one, fill it out and say create a new one. It's really pretty simple. But remember what you put here, because this becomes your URL to it. You know, the other thing is, you know, when you're once you create your channel, you're going to get a general channel. It's going to be once you create your workspace, you'll get general, and then you want to create and add more channels, and you want to build your channels out. This is a community that I just started building. I haven't got a start yet. I'm general and random. Now, as I grow this collaborating coaches one, then I might create channels for you know, Skype coaching, Zoom coaching, WebEx coaching, face-to-face coaching, et cetera, maybe international coaching. I'll create more community, more channels based on what the audience or what the community wants. That's the most important thing to think about. Don't create a bunch of channels and say, go get in these channels. Create the channels that your community wants. That's where you're going to create the greatest value. And, you know, even from the apps, I showed this screen here just from my MacBook app or from my iPhone app. I could just, here's a couple of communities I'm in right now on those apps, but then I can hit that plus and just create a whole new workspace or a whole new community. It's that easy to create a new one. Or just do it from slack.com. So, you know, once you've got your community up and running, the great ways to use it in departments. A particular department within a business can have its own workspace. I wouldn't create a community for a company. I would create a community for a segment of the company. And the reason why I would do that is because if it gets too deep, and it won't get broad enough. So I would create a marketing department community for that company, and maybe, you know, a sales department, maybe in a customer service department community or workspace, and then create channels under that. Instead of creating a workspace for, you know, Boeing airplanes, create a workspace for Boeing marketing, and then create channels under that. Students in class, I've got a class that I'm a part of, and we have our own community or workspace for that class, in that year. So, you know, it's a social media fall 2018 or fall 2017 is a workspace. So we created it for a bunch of students. I got business partners I work with around the globe, and so I have a community just for that set of business partners. I'm on the board of a couple associations, and we used to use Wigo or Wigio, and used to use some other tools, and we're going to back down, and we're going to use Slack to do all of our engagement. We really believe we'll get much more value out of that, and we'll be able to do it for free. You know, association members, so you also have some maybe special interest groups who want to, within association, so you can have a Slack community for special interest groups, or a Slack community for all the members of an association outside a board. And again, I said I have it for my family members, and I have one for my industry peers. Lots of different ways, lots of groups of people who want to collaborate and get in conversations, and Slack really plays a great role in those different communities of people who want to engage. There's a few tips and tricks that I really think are worth paying attention to when using Slack. Again, let me stop, make sure I don't have any chats going on. If you have any questions, feel free to use the chat box. I'll get to it when I can while we're chatting. But some tips to think about. There's a bunch of command codes or shortcut codes that are really worth. There's only 3 of them that I want to share with you, but there's probably a couple dozen of them. The newest one I like is I can do a /Zoom. So I've attached the Zoom app. I use Zoom for my a lot of my webinars, and so I've attached Zoom to one of my communities. So I can do a /Zoom and create a Zoom event in my Slack. Really pretty freaking cool. But I can also do /call or call someone, /DM to message them, /remind and remind me to do something that somebody asked me to do. It'll bring up a notification in Slack. Hey, Teddy, Slack bot will say, hey, Teddy, you told me to remind you to do this. So That's only a very short list of the command codes, and you go into Slack and do Slack help, and you can get a list of all of them. They're really pretty dynamic and well worth practicing and getting used to using. Use important channels deliberately. Don't create a channel about a project, or don't create a channel about a program and not get involved in the conversation. If you really want Slack to work with you, create a Slack community, create a Slack channel, and really use that channel to focus the conversations, and really encourage people not to go off on the left or right and use text messaging or emails to engage on that conversation in that channel. Get people to stay in the channel. You'll get far more value from it than having people hop around through email and social media and texting and even Twitter to engage in conversations about something that should be in a Slack channel. Can't overemphasize the importance of using threads in a very deliberate way. Instead of just dropping a new conversation or discussion in a channel, start a thread around a discussion. So all the replies and the engagement about the item or the issue or the task that someone dropped in a channel, all of the conversations about that item or that issue are in the thread, and it's far easier to manage, far easier to pay attention to, far easier to get caught up on. Use the direct messages when you can, when it makes sense. Not every conversation needs to be public, or even if it's privately public. There's some conversations that just don't need to be said out loud. Again, I got, the one I just got earlier is I'm working on a program with one of my Slack peers, and instead of him asking me what's going on with it publicly, he sent me a direct message, said, "Hey, Teddy, what's going on with this?" Pay attention to your notifications. I know that we have lots going on, and we're engaging in conversations and ideas about how to grow our business, how to help our business, how to help the departments and the people in our business. So we have to pay attention to notifications. And so you don't want to go 2 or 3 days and not pay attention to those notifications. Get to them, address them. It's really important to pay attention to notifications, not let them get stacked up and become clutter. And click on stuff to learn. If I often get people say, "Teddy, I want you to create a YouTube video on how to use Slack." Well, I've done a few, but the best way for you to learn how to use any online tools is start clicking on stuff. The worst that's going to happen, you click on something you shouldn't be on. If you shouldn't be on there, it's not going to let you get into it. Click on stuff to learn. The more you learn how to use it, the more effective you get at it, the better you're going to be. Again, you can be in multiple communities or multiple workspaces. And you can set different workspaces up to have different notifications. So, I tell people, join the communities that are the most important to you. I was on a community for the board, homeowners board, and the conversations that were going on there were not important to me. They were totally irrelevant to me. And so I opted to back out. I said, "You guys are having conversations about people and not about systems and board-related conversations." So I got out. I do not need to be burdened down with stuff that's irrelevant, not important to me. If you're not contributing or you're not gaining, again, get out. It's important to do. The worst thing you do is someone think that you're a part of a community when in reality you're not. You're not engaging, you're not contributing, you're not getting something from it. Get out. It's important. We do that in real life. We do that on social media and Slack as well. And invite other great people to join the relevant communities and workspaces. If you know someone who has something to offer, some ideas, and can benefit from being a part of your community, invite them to it. And I'm a big fan of inviting my peers, the people who do what I do, maybe do it differently, maybe do it in different areas. But I get a lot of reward from being involved in communities with my peers, who some people would call my competitors, but I don't call them that. And they don't refer to themselves in that way either. And get involved. Again, you have to get involved. It's the best way to benefit from your workspace is to be involved. Set up your notifications in the right way. Engage with people. Engage with new people. Engage on conversations that are going on. Jump into a thread. It's the greatest way to get value in life is to participate in the conversations that are relevant to you. And use the best device for you. If you're a mobile guy and you're always mobile, use your iPhone, use your Android, use your Windows device. Use the device that is the most appropriate for you to use. When I'm doing webinars and I'm doing focus on conversations, I might turn this stuff off. I don't need to have all the notifications happening while I'm doing real work and focused on writing or doing a video. But use the device appropriately so you get the greatest value. This is a phrase that I teach in lots of my classes, and that is that everything you do on social media needs to be mutually beneficial. It's not all about Teddy, as much as I think would be nice to be, but that would be preposterous. It's not appropriate. So you want to share relevant content. So when you're in a community and you're trying to, engage in conversations, help other people, share conversations that can help move the task forward or the idea forward or the process or the project forward. Share relevant content in your discussions within the channels. And engage on other people's content. Read with look, they're in this community so we can learn from each other, work with each other, and help each other. So one of the best ways to do that is engage in their content. Ask questions. Challenge them in an appropriate way. Throw out another idea so that you can help people take their content, make it more meaningful, while you're trying to take your content and make it more meaningful. Again, there's that word, meaningful comments. It's not about, hey, I thank you and I like that, or a thumbs up all the time. I mean, that might be appropriate to do now and then. But you want to engage in a meaningful way. Engage with thought. Engage with idea. Engage with the goal to be able to grow and to grow together. And oh my God, stay on topic. Stay on topic in the channel. Stay on topic in the thread. If the channel is about, LinkedIn profiles, do not jump in that channel on that workspace and ask a question about LinkedIn groups. The channel is about LinkedIn profiles. And if the conversation in that channel is about some of the best profiles out there, then when you're in that thread or that conversation on that channel, keep the conversation about that thread or about that original posting or that conversation. If you want to start another conversation, that's fine, but stay true to the conversation in the channel and in the thread. Oh my God, listen to others. Often we feel the urge to respond quickly, but don't need to respond quickly. Listen to what other people are saying. Listen to what they're posting. Listen to what they're sharing. Listen to their ideas. Look at their content, their videos, their articles they share. And then as you're listening, form that for yourself. How are you going to engage on this conversation? Too often, we jump on social media or even Slack, and we want to respond instantly. It's called, reacting. And you don't want to react. You want to respond. So reacting. A really big philosophy that I teach and really encourage, and that is that become a giver. When you get on Slack, you really want to become a giver. You want to help other people. And so using Slack, you're going to want to have that same philosophy as you are when you're using LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, et cetera, and in real life conversations. Become a giver. So resources to learn by. I've got an article out there called Slack as a Business Tool where I listed some articles. You're going to get a copy of this PDF in the class, and so go look at that Slack as a Business Tool article on my website. It's got a few resources worth looking at. And there's some articles, some videos, links to some apps that are available. Because you really want to look and see you want to learn Slack. You want to get good at Slack. You want to get good at being a contributor and an engager in your workspace, creating appropriate channels, naming channels the right way, getting in conversations in the channels, using threads, using the emoticons, using the phone call, using the search ideas, using files, et cetera, using the ability to embed, videos and articles and links to articles in your discussions and in your replies. But you also want to, as you learn how to get good at Slack, you also want to go experiment and look at some of the apps that are out there that you can plug into Slack. So it's really, Slack is a powerful business tool, and I really want you to think of what business tools are you using today that are working for you. Are you using email? Are you using chat? Are you using other tools that are out there? Are you using text messaging? And so think about the conversations that are going on, and does it make sense to try to corral these conversations into a tool where you can collect the discussions, collect the ideas, do the research on the types of conversations that are going on, types of engagements that are going on, and does it make sense to bring them all together in a tool like Slack? And if it does, the best thing I can offer you is just go experiment with it. Go try it out and see if it will work for your community, your family, your group, your association, your department. So just a little bit of update before I go answer a few more. Let me make sure there's no questions. I want to answer questions if I can. So I don't see any pending questions. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop those into the chat box, and I'll grab them. I'm going to open up chat and have it right. And so, again, the best way to learn how to use Slack is to go practice it. And, as you're practicing, you'll discover the value of doing it. So just update for you, just for, while I'm waiting for any questions that might pop up. I have 4 more webinars coming up. I'm a social media strategist. So social media for me goes way beyond Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Also includes the use of Evernote, the use of Google Suite, the use of social media as an overview. I also have a LinkedIn class, my next 4 classes that are coming up. You can find all those on ijonaskills.us. And if you have a question about the classes that I'm doing, any questions about any future classes that you'd like to see that either I could produce or others could produce for you to help you grow your business, help your business be successful, then reach out to ijonaskills.us, just use support at, or there's a phone number, 717-208-8666, extension 100. And, let us know what classes you need. Let us know what kind of help you need so that we can put together the best webinars to help you grow your business and help your business to be more successful. Check for any other questions. I'll see any other questions out there.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. Now we will open the line for Q&A session. Anybody having a question can raise their hand by clicking hand button, which is down right corner of your screen. Also, you can send your questions in the chat window. Yeah, it seems there is no questions at this moment. However, you can still send your questions to email ID at support@ijonaskills.us. With this, we will end the session. We appreciate your time and believe the session was informative and up to your expectation. We look forward to seeing our next event. Soon you will be receiving the alignment and feedback form. Kindly send your comments. Your feedback is important for us. Thank you very much for your time and have a good day. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Application, again, Dropbox, Google Cloud, Evernote, etc.
Steve, I have unmuted your line, so if you have any questions, you can direct ask to the speaker.